Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I see the technical briefing has generated lively debate. I'm very happy about that. Happy also to welcome you to the European Commission's daily midday briefing on this Monday, 12th of March 2012. I will have the pleasure very shortly to welcome Vice President Kallas on the podium. He will announce to you the winners of the Travel Planners of the Travel Planners Challenge. That's coming up in a minute. I just want, before Vice President Kallas comes on the podium, to share a couple of planning points with you as well. Right after the midday briefing at 12:30, we'll be welcoming Commissioner Malmström in the press room about new rules for more effective confiscation of funds and other property acquired through crime. We announced that on Friday, I think you have the information about what that is about. So I switch immediately to the next planning point, which is a transmission here in the press room at 5:30 of a press conference by Commissioner De Gucht on the WTO appellate body ruling on the DS-353 Boeing case. This press conference takes place in Geneva, but it will be transmitted live on EBS and here in the press room, as you have also been informed, I'm sure some of you already. So this is coming up 5:30 on EBS and retransmitted to this room, transmission of the press conference with Mr. De Gucht from Geneva. For Tuesday, the 13th of March, as you know, the College will be meeting in the European Parliament in Strasbourg, since the Parliament is in session. I do want also to draw your attention to the fact that the President yesterday congratulated Mr. Fico of Slovakia on his election on the occasion of the parliamentary elections in Slovakia, underlining that he counts on Mr. Fico's support in our joint endeavor of creating jobs and growth, and wishing Mr. Fico every success in the challenging tasks which lie ahead, and looking forward to work together with Mr. Fico. So just to also put that on the record, and the congratulatory message is available should you wish to have it. And finally, to conclude, I would like to draw your attention to a high-level conference that takes place in Brussels next Monday and Tuesday, so we're really looking ahead here, calling Engaging Youth Palestine Refugees in Changing Middle East. It's organized by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency with the support of the European Union and the government in Belgium. And the event will bring together key global decision makers, including High Representative Vice President Ashton and Secretary General of the Arab League, Nabil El Arabi, and also the Belgian Foreign Minister, Mr. Reinders, and President of the European Parliament, Martin Schulz, as the Arab Spring sees its first anniversary. And so this event will take place in Palais d'Egmont, and the absolute last deadline, and this is why I'm telling you about it now, the absolute last deadline for press accreditation is tomorrow, Tuesday, the 13th of March, and you can have more information from Maya's and Michael Mann's offices, of course, as always. And finally, to conclude, looking to this Friday, so we go back to this week, but Friday the 16th of March, President Barroso will be paying his first visit to the European Commission's in-house science service, the Joint Research Center in Ispra in northern Italy, by ARC, the Joint Research Center, and visit a number of laboratories and test centers. And he will also have the opportunity to inaugurate the new European Crisis Management Laboratory, which supports the EU's interventions in areas struck by disaster across the globe. And there will on this occasion be a press doorstep organized on the spot, transmitted by EBS, and that will be made available. And more information on this visit from myself or from Jens Mester. And now I will not delay any longer, inviting Vice President Kallas to join me on the podium to talk to you about the winners of the Travel Planners Challenge. Vice President.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am really pleased to announce 4 winners of our Smart Mobility Challenge. It is a very positive event. I would underline it. Different transport types: air, sea, rail, tram, metro and bus, and this across different countries. Only if transport users actually can compare traveling options, they have a true choice. The cheaper or the shorter trip, the trip with least carbon footprint, or the more comfortable trip. And if bigger numbers of travelers make such informed choices, we will manage to make Europe's transport system more efficient, less congestion, less emissions, less unnecessary costs. The challenge had 2 parts, with 2 winners each. We called for submitting already existing international travel planners, covering 2 or more transport modes, to take part in a public vote on the internet, and the 2 winners are IDOS or EDOS, a door-to-door journey planner in Czech Republic and Slovakia, getting about 66 million views per month, and Trenitalia's journey planner for train, bus and ferry connections for Italy and neighboring countries. It has about 90 million visits per month. We also called for submitting new ideas, travel planners, innovative, fresh ideas. And the by a jury are Bye Bye, Hello, or since renamed ZLIK, a journey planner soon to go on the market, and including planning and ticketing services. And My Trip Set, an SNCF planner, which will be launched soon. It has innovative new ideas on planning, ticketing and real-time traffic updates. Did we get what the challenge aimed at? Yes and no. Yes, because it helped to give a great push to the development of such integrated planners. Because we see industry, researchers, professionals and users more committed than ever. Development and investment clearly accelerated. Very welcome. No, because none of the participants really fully covers all transport modes and all regions of Europe, door to door. We knew this from the beginning. We could not expect this. Too many difficulties are still to be overcome. But it has become clear that there are 2 main barriers stopping more new innovative travel planners coming on the market. First, access to public transport data, and second, the harmonization of data standards, so data can transfer. I will discuss possible options with Minister of Transport and, as necessary, with Neelie Kroes and telecom ministers in the coming months, and if necessary, we may need to propose regulatory solutions. We will discuss it at the informal council in Cyprus in July. But today I congratulate all the winners, indeed all participants, to the challenge for their outstanding work. All the planners with the winners will be presented in detail to the European Parliament's Transport Committee on March 26. You see the map, and in theory you can go, there are a lot of dots, you can go to these dots and see what the connections might be. And at least we tested it even worked. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vice President. Now the floor is yours. If you have questions for the Vice President, who is available for a few questions, as we normally do during the midday briefings. So if there are questions, this is the opportunity. Otherwise, I think it's completely clear. So thanks very much for this presentation, Vice President. Many thanks. We now then give the floor to you for any other issues you want to ask. Go ahead.
Hi, one question on Slovakia. The next Prime Minister, Mr. Fico, has just announced that Mr. Lajčák will get an offer to be a foreign minister in his new government. I was just wondering whether it is possible so flexibly to leave the circles of Miss Ashton for the government job, as Mr. Lajčák is under the Ashtons.
Look, I have no immediate comment to offer on this. You know, it's obviously for the next Prime Minister of Slovakia to put his government together, and I'm sure that any arrangements will be made to make sure that any transitions will be done as smoothly as possible. No particular comment on my side. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Question for Matthew, please. It's a freedom of movement case in Denmark. It seems that the airport in Aarhus asks for secondary or supplementary identification for all non-Danish citizens. Can that be? Is it legal or not? And what are you going to do about it?
Thank you very much. Matthew is on his way.
Where is he?
In the very back.
In the back, okay. Okay, thanks for the question. Just a couple quick points about free movement. So, free movement is a fundamental right in the EU. It's in the treaty, and it's also in the Free Movement Directive of 2004-38. And this is one of the things that Europeans most often mention as something that they cherish. And it's one of the most tangible successes of European integration in the past 60 years. And just in terms to put this in perspective about the statistics, there's 1.25 billion journeys as tourists within the EU, and 48% of European citizens recognize that this is the right to move and reside freely in the EU is one of the most important citizens' rights. And getting to the issue that you raised about passports and identification cards, the national authorities of EU countries cannot oblige any EU citizens to present both a passport and a national identity card. The Commission is committed to ensuring that EU citizens can effectively exercise their right to free movement. We only recently received the complaint to which you refer, and we have no further information about other incidents taking place in Denmark or elsewhere in the EU. We are following up. We will make contact with the person who complained, and we will seek further information. But we do not have a legal analysis at this point to give you. We need to collect more information about the exact case.
Okay, thanks very much, Matthew. Questions on other issues? Yes, please.
I have a question for Florian. In a speech yesterday, Nicolas Sarkozy called on EU governments to favour European products, and he also said that he would challenge Schengen's open borders if no progress was made. Could we have a reaction to both of these statements and whether either policy is compatible with EU law?
Thank you very much for the question. As you know or may know, we don't usually comment on national electoral campaign speeches, and we will not comment on this speech either. We are, as always, of course, available to, give you background on indeed what our policies are and the policies that we are working on. I see also that Commissioner Barnier has just had a similar question when he was asked how we are working on our procurement rules and, for example, set out how we are working to ensure that there is reciprocity in the rules and indeed, of course, compatibility that we are operating with, and how we are working together also with Commissioner de Gucht to develop this. So I have really no specific comment to make to this particular speech, but as always, we are happy to give you background on our policies, be it trade policy, be it, for that matter, also immigration policy. And by the way, Mrs. Malmström will also be here in the press room in a moment, so that you know exactly where we are coming from on different policy areas. But we do not comment on campaign speeches. A follow-up?
Could you perhaps then comment whether a government trying to favour its own homegrown industries is compatible with EU law?
There, I think that we can indeed set out, if you wish, but let's then do it after Mrs. Malmström's press conference, the detailed rules that govern our policies and indeed also ensure compatibility with WTO rules. But let's just do it on a factual basis after Mrs. Malmström's briefing. If people have questions on this, we'll try to see what we can make available to you, bearing in mind that our trade spokesman is traveling. But happy to see what we can do after Mrs. Malmström's briefing for those who need background information on the different aspects of our trade policy. Anne?
Est-ce qu'il y a déjà eu des réflexions pour un European Buy Act, et est-ce que à la DG Trade on a déjà protesté contre l'American Buy Act?
Voilà encore une question qu'on peut clarifier après la conférence de presse de Madame Malmström. Sur le Buy European Act, si je me souviens bien, ceci est précisément une idée qui est dans le discours de campagne auquel il a été référence. Sur le Buy American Act, on peut tout à fait vérifier et qu'est-ce qu'on a fait à cet égard, mais tu permets qu'on prend un tout petit peu de temps pour vérifier exactement, en l'absence de John, où il en est. On va te donner les éléments en moins d'une demi-heure. Ça va? Encore une question là-dessus? On something else.
There have been interethnic incidents between Macedonian citizens and Albanians, which represent 30% to 30% in Macedonia. 15 Albanian students have been beaten. A lot of Albanian shops have been damaged. A lot of other incidents. So, what is the reaction of European Commission, and do you consider that the Macedonian authorities have dealt, well with this situation? Thanks.
Peter.
Thank you. As you know, European Commission firmly opposes violence, it condemns violence, and we are urging everybody to respect the rule of law, and we are supporting the efforts which are leading to the enforcement of the rule of law. In terms of these incidents you just mentioned, of course we deeply regret that it has happened, and we are regretting the fact that people got injured in this. We are following very closely the security situation in the country. We understand that the local and central authorities started investigations, so they are following up this with a thorough investigation. And we trust that the political stakeholders in the country, politicians and the civil society as well, that they will handle the emotional aftermath with care and urge calm in the country. And as the second part of your question is concerned, we are welcoming the recent statements from the politicians. and political leaders because they reaffirmed their commitment to rule of law in the country, which is very important.
Thank you very much, Peter. A follow-up?
The Ohrid Agreement was signed in 2001 to end up with those interethnic conflicts. It's incredible to see that 11 years after, there are a lot of problems in Macedonia because the jobs given to Albanian citizens are fictive. There are a lot of problems with the Albanian languages, with the use in the administration, and the trust between Macedonian and Albanians is not there, which is the fifth pillar of Ohrid Agreement. So, what kind of pressure the European Commission can put to Macedonian authorities to really implement this Ohrid Agreement? And given the fact that Mr. Füle is going there on the 15th of March, is it going to be part of the discussion with the Macedonian authorities? Thanks.
Yes, you answered your question yourself. The Ohrid Agreement, framework agreement, is a pillar, continues to be essential part of the democracy and rule of law in the country, and the thorough implementation of this agreement is important. And of course, this will be a topic of the high-level accession dialogue, which will be launched on Thursday when Commissioner travels to Skopje. So this will be a topic of discussions between the European Commission and the authorities in Skopje.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Other questions to Peter still? On something else, Marisa?
Yeah, probably for you. Just on the Gimnich, the German foreign minister, he just raised the necessity to open a discussion or reflection on the European Constitution, and apparently the 20th of March there is already there will be in Berlin a meeting between 9 countries, just to restart the discussion about these needs. So I would like to know if the European Commission shared this German need or not. Thank you.
I haven't seen the detailed comment. I think that you know where we stand on the institutional side of things. We have no plans as far as we're concerned to launch a new institutional debate at this point in time. Georgi?
To know if the European Commission will be invited or it was invited to this meeting on the 20th March.
I will check. Okay, thanks very much. Other questions? Georgi.
Yes, against the background of the infringement procedures against Hungary, the Hungarian Prime Minister, Mr. Orbán, has reportedly called the European Commission stupid, and basically said that those people are not elected as I am, so they should not teach us lessons. Do you have anything to say?
No, I have no comment to that. Thank you very much. Any other questions? This then leaves me to ask you or invite you to stay for Commissioner Malmström's press conference, which will start very shortly. Thanks very much.